Moving to file item AB 1889, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1889 by Assemblymember Mullin, an act relating to transportation.
Mr. Mullin, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. The bill before you is a crucial step as we modernize our transportation infrastructure in the state. AB 1889 makes good on a funding commitment made by this legislature in the budget process in 2012 to fund the so-called bookend projects that are necessary to accommodate high-speed rail. The bill simply clarifies that the Caltrain electrification project in the Bay Area and modernization projects in the Los Angeles metro area are deemed suitable and ready projects under the provisions of Proposition 1A. There have been questions raised about the viability of the overall high-speed rail project, and I agree with the need for additional accountability and oversight, which is why I joined you, colleagues, in the unanimous bipartisan support of legislation this year to add 2 legislators to the High-Speed Rail Authority Board of Directors and to require greater disclosure in the High-Speed Rail Authority reports and business plans. The focus of this bill is to reinforce the prior actions of the legislature in appropriating money for the bookend projects and to demonstrate that this legislature will follow through on our commitments. We would expect nothing less of future legislators reviewing our actions now. The projects AB 1889 will support our crucial investments in the Bay Area and Southern California and are in furtherance of critical and necessary investments in the Central Valley as well. If the funding is not released by the 2018 deadline, transportation agencies may be forced to cancel contracts, and rail construction in these important corridors will fall further behind. That is why this bill is supported by transportation agencies, business associations, contractors, and labor organizations. I respectfully ask for your aye vote on concurrence in Senate amendments.
Seeing no discussion. Oh, who? Oh.
Hadley.
Oh. Mr. Hadley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I must rise in opposition to AB 1889 for a couple of very basic reasons. Just because 41 members of this House say that something is true does not make it true. And it is a prima facie violation of Prop 1A passed by the voters of this state in 2008 for high-speed bond funds to be spent on this project. It simply is not an eligible project under Prop 1A. That is for high-speed rail. This project is not a high-speed project, and I absolutely agree with the author of this bill that this legislature needs more oversight over many things, including high-speed rail. However, Prop 1A is not a compact between the High-Speed Rail Authority and this legislature. It is a compact between the High-Speed Rail Authority and the voters of California who approved it. And we, as a body, do not have the authority to spend money on a project that the voters of California did not approve that money for. We should not approve this. Even if we do prove it, it will instantaneously or speedily be challenged in the courts. We will waste taxpayer dollars on a project that is not eligible for high-speed rail funds. I urge a no vote.
Mr. Patterson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, in recognition and honor of our colleague from Santee, you have got to be kidding me. I mean, members, this bill is nothing more than an attempt to nullify key conditions for the use of bond funds under Prop 1A. So to avoid a shell game like this, voters prohibited any use of bond funds on high-speed rail construction until and unless upfront assurances that a functional high-speed rail segment can be completed. The High-Speed Rail Authority has to do two things. They've got to identify all funding to complete the segment, and they must demonstrate that, if so, the corridor or usable segment thereof would be suitable and ready for high-speed trail operations. Members, this is really a shell game. This is playing with language in the most grotesque way. This is a revision of what the voters clearly stated was their intention, to be suitable and ready. This bill turns that upside down. They actually mean the opposite in this bill, because it would be unconstitutional to amend a voter-approved measure without a new vote. So we're playing word games. The bill is framed as a, quote, clarification. According to the bill, suitable and ready, members, actually means ultimately suitable and ready after additional planned investments. In other words, they can't do what they want to do because they can't make it suitable and ready, and they've got to find additional money somewhere in order to, quote, after additional planned investments are somehow discovered. Members, this allows the authority to begin construction at any time without any assurances on any segment that they so choose. Members, this definition defies common sense, and it circumvents the clear will of the voters. Members, we have got to remind ourselves that the purpose of the funding restrictions in the Bond Act is to prevent the authority from doing precisely what this bill allows them to do. That is why the segment needs all funding identified and suitable and ready for immediate high-speed operation upon completion. The purpose of the Bond Act is being absolutely undermined if any conventional rail segment can be considered suitable and ready. Members, words matter. The word ready, according to Merriam-Webster in the dictionary, says prepared for immediate use. That is an impossible set of circumstances to achieve. Without suitable and ready requirement, there is nothing to prevent the authority from using bond funds to do just about anything they want to in the name of so-called suitable and ready. Members, if you pass this bill, we've really gone through the looking glass. I mean, everything is upside down. Words don't mean anything. What the voters have said doesn't mean anything. And in the name of quote-unquote clarification, we are essentially and irretrievably doing something that I don't think we have any authority to do. Revision is not within the purview of this body's ability to do. This is why many of us, and I would just suggest whether you support or oppose high-speed rail, it is important that we revere and respect the intentions and the explicit directions given to us by the voters. And members, if you don't like what the voters did, have the courage to stand up, say so, and re-vote the project under all of these different sets of scenarios. Members, this is not only a bad piece of legislation, it does serious damage with this body's relationship with the voters.
30 seconds.
And it clearly is an effort to use language and obfuscation to basically do something that is not only something we should not be doing, but members, cast a vote for this and you're doing something dishonest. I respectfully ask that you vote no.
Mr. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this legislation. I was here when this legislature made a commitment to move forward with the bookend projects as a part of the high-speed rail program and affirmed an approach using a blended system, which was designed to save money on the long-range plan of high-speed rail. I believe that this bill allows us to make good on our commitments, and I would urge an aye vote.
Mr. Frazier, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As one of the members of the Transportation Committee and the chairman, I have toured every inch of that facility on the ground and in the air, looking on how this project, the IOS, is being built. That being said, this money has already been allocated by the High-Speed Rail Authority. This is just kind of an ongoing process that the legislature started in 2012, and we're following up with commitments to make sure that the end of this line will be done in conjunction with this IOS. Looking forward to an affirmative vote on this and making sure that public transit is supported in California and the Valley has a chance to be competitive with us. Thank you. I urge your aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Mullin, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the members at this late hour for a robust discussion here on this measure. One of my colleagues used the word disingenuous. What would be disingenuous is if this legislature did not follow through on commitments made by a prior legislature. Our words need to mean something. This is simply affirming the prior actions of this body. This is a critical investment in our infrastructure. We need to make good on our commitments. I ask for an aye vote.
The clerk will open the roll. All those vote who desire to vote. 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 The clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 42, noes 28. Senate amendments are concurred in. Moving to AB 2087, the clerk will